Philip Holloway joins us now. He is a licensed commercial pilot, a certified flight instructor, and a criminal defense attorney. These reports of a steep climb just ahead of the plane disappearing from radar, Philip, what does that sound like to you?
Well, John, despite this very tragic news, I would like to say Happy New Year first. If the pilots were involved in this very steep climb, as has been reported, that would be consistent with what I think might be icing up of the pitot tubes, which are the probes that extend outward from the fuselage of the airplane that are part of the airspeed indicating system. If those tubes are blocked, what happens is the airspeed will reflect an artificially high number. If the airplane is climbing, it looks like the airspeed is increasing. If the pilots in severe turbulence, like you're going to find in a thunderstorm, if they misinterpret their airspeed readings, what they could do is they could actually raise the nose of the airplane thinking they're bringing it back to level, when in fact what they're doing is they're exacerbating the problem, potentially resulting in a stall, if not a spin, directly down into the ocean.
And something like that happened in the Air France 447 crash, correct?
That's exactly correct. In 447, the pilots misinterpreted the stall warning system. In fact, they ignored, I think, 80-something audible alarms saying, you know, you're in a stall, you're in a stall. And they didn't believe it because they did not trust or believe their instruments. Instrument-rated pilots, and you being a pilot, you know this, we're trained to trust the instruments as long as the instrument readings are consistent with everything else that you're getting. But if you have your pitot tubes frozen up, that instrument is not going to be reliable, and they're going to have to look towards secondary instruments to try to get the correct information. And
just for our viewers, when pilots talk about stalls, they're not generally talking about engines that quit working. They're talking about wings that have exceeded their angle of attack. They have reached an angle at an angle at which they will not fly. They don't provide lift to the aircraft anymore. What about human error here?
There's no accident that I've ever heard of that was a result of one single factor. It's always a sequence of events. But in the overwhelming majority of cases, John, human error is one of the primary factors. If you look at the sequence of events in this place, or in this accident, I would say that it goes back all the way to their decision to take off in the first place. In retrospect, and it's always easy to Monday morning quarterback these things, but knowing what was out there in terms of weather, that decision to go or no go may very well have been the very first in a sequence of deadly events that led to this crash, and that, of course, would be in the category of human error. Of course, how they interpret or misinterpret the instrument readings, that can also be human error. And we're also seeing, you know, the erroneous reports coming out. I mean, this report of a passenger wearing a life preserver, apparently that has been shot down. The information that comes out early is often wrong. That's correct. And there's a lot of speculation, you know, in the moments, the minutes, the hours, and even the days following these things. We're just going to all have to sit back and wait until we get the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder to find out exactly what was going on. But I will tell you this, if they were involved in a spin, and based on the last known altitude and the last known location and where things have been found, they would have had to drop 32 to 35,000 feet in about 6 minutes. That's an extraordinary rate of descent. Yeah. And you've got to imagine pandemonium in the cockpit as well as in the cabin of that airplane.
Philip Holloway. Philip, thank you for your expertise.